Facebook will allow us to do this now.
Right. Yeah, no, I hate the fact that even when I set it,
we are live.
Facebook switches it back. So you have to, like, once you go live, you have to go back and switch it back.
Yeah. It's so irritating.
Yeah.
Because, we can't actually do anything that doesn't make Facebook money on Facebook.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Let me renew my page here before we get to say hello, everybody. Come on in. Have a seat.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. We are live. Come on in.
If anybody finds my lost hour from last week, could you bring it to me?
Daphne is still looking for it. Hasn't found it yet.
Yeah.
We had a great visit last night by Eric Hodson, Professor Lutkins, and Varian and Krista came up, and we went out.
Oh, that's cool.
Had a nice evening out. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
It was really good. So I don't expect Varian to be here today.
Oh, okay. So it's like, so you actually like went out, like outside, not like out, like you did a live stream or something.
We were lucky to get into a restaurant.
Oh, there you go.
That had primo food and sat and had great food, good conversation. Right. There was actually a troubadour on stage singing. Oh, it's nice. Just a real nice time. So we and after we were done, we're like, we really need to do this again. But you know what? We haven't been able to do it for the last freaking years.
Right, exactly. So, it's not like you guys were like out of touch or something.
Yeah. Well, plus we still have this. Come on in, everybody. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Varian's not going to be with us today, so we're not going to have our radio numbers, but we do know you are out there. You're out there listening on Indie Volt Radio. Today is going to almost be a show and tell, but we appreciate you being out there. We are going to describe this. We know that you're there to our radio audience, and we'll try to be as descriptive as possible. But we're going to talk about comic formats today.
Ooh. And
all of the different variations that nobody seems to think about anymore.
Right, yeah. Especially, I mean, it's like, what's funny is that formats is something that I've been thinking about lately, especially with 2 Kickstarters coming up. So,
sure. Yeah.
That's something that we always got to keep in mind, and also we forget like all the different, like the different variations that we have too.
Way too easily.
Yeah.
It just slips away because if it doesn't, we have been, especially here in the States, we have been so trained by our distributor that a comic has to look a certain way so it'll fit a bag, a certain bag with a board back behind it. But really, seriously, all they want to do is make sure they can stack 2 piles in a box that they mass manufactured. So it's easier for them to ship the books to the retailer. Yeah. But because, bubble wrap is expensive, I guess. I don't know.
I guess. I don't know either. Yeah.
Apparently it is. And you don't get books out there anymore that are bigger than 2 comics stacked on top of one another.
Right. Yeah.
Or next to one another, because they won't. That's why the new format from DC, if you notice, and I don't have an example here. I've got one handy. It'd take me a second to get to it. But if you notice, that format is almost that size.
Oh.
One comic right up next to another comic turned sideways.
Oh, that's weird.
So it's easy to fit in the diamond box.
Wow. Okay. Everything is like a standard that we didn't even have any input in.
Oh, and it drives no, it is, and it drives you crazy. But we're gonna run our opening. We've already got people talking in the chat. Russ is in the house. Good. Marvin's in the house. Russ says
hello.
Marvi is there. Have fun, guys. I'm at my wife's daughter's house. See you later. Okay, Marvi.
Ciao.
We appreciate you listening whenever you listen. Good morning. Sorry. Hey, Russ.
Hey.
Garrett says, morning, Randy, Daphne. I also see Russ is here. Hey, Russ, should I send you a link? Let me know. Send me a link in Facebook if you want to talk. We're just talking formats today. So Russ says, morning. I love bubble wrap. I do too, Russ.
Not the new one, though. Not the new one. Did you get the new one where it's like it doesn't pop? The air just kind of like Squishes, yeah. It's like, it's very not satisfying.
That and the crazy pillows Amazon sends out that are just, you just got to take a knife and.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
In order to recycle the plastic. So
yeah,
it's crazy. That takes all the fun out of sitting in front of TV and just taking out your frustration.
Yeah, and just like completely stimming in front,
Yeah. Check that new format, 40 pages for $5.99. We're going to discuss that also here in just a second. We're going to get there. Really. Mm-hmm. We're going to cover that in a second. We are going to run the opening. And then, we'll do introductions, and then we'll start talking about our topic. Let me see. Here we go. There we are. Everybody, this is the Sunday Funnies for March 21st, 2021.
You knew the job was dangerous when you took it, Fred.
Oh, and I hit the wrong one.
Uh-oh.
Let's try this one. Let's see if this works.
Can't nobody tell me nothing.
Nope, that's not the one.
How dare you?
Nope.
We're professionals here.
Always professional. Could have been worse. I could have hit this one.
Daphne, do we have something we want to add to this?
Well, we always cut it off. So we need to remind everybody we are TVMA DLSV.
Right. Yeah. Even this early in the morning.
Boom. And we're talking about funny books. Yep. You might hear words that you might not, want your kids to.
Because once Randy starts off on Diamond, it's all downhill from here.
Well, we're going to try we're going to try to get away from that.
Uh-huh.
We're going to see how that goes. I just sent Russ a link, so he might actually be joining us this morning. I wasn't going to force anybody on this morning.
Well,
Last show that we had such a great cast of people, and we were all talking. We actually talked comics for 2 hours. Cool. It was pretty awesome. Uh-huh. We weren't out wandering all over the place. I figured I'd keep it more contained this time. Well, plus I really didn't plan anything.
Oh, well, hey.
I had guests yesterday, so.
Yeah, seat of our pants.
And I've been working on a commercial job, and I'm 3 scripts behind, and yada yada.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, that's the life, the glamorous life we lead.
Glamour.
Yeah.
Yes. Everybody goes, hey, have you watched the Snyder Cut? It's like, hey, I don't have 4 hours.
Right. Yeah. No. Exactly. It's like I think I probably watched like the first hour and maybe like 20 minutes, like midway. But yeah, I haven't really sat down and watched the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like, look, I'm coloring right now, so
I burned through the WPT channel on Pluto. I used to watch that when at night I would go upstairs and need something just to for non-brain food. So sit around and watch guys playing poker. That was kind of cool. I used to watch Laugh-In. I went through those.
Right.
But, haven't found where Hee Haw's hiding.
Oh, right.
I'd sit through that because that's
exactly.
That's really low humor.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. For all you, you folks out there, we old.
Yeah, we real old. I mean, Laugh-In's only 50 years old. What the heck? But it's got that old style humor. Then. Yeah. And it was a whole different time back then, too. Russ.
Hey, Russ.
How are you?
We could hold each other's hands. We didn't want to do this alone.
Schneider cut. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We should probably introduce ourselves. Hello, everybody out there listening. We have quite a few people out, and the chat is active. We have a hello out there in Radio Land. I am your host, Randy Zimmerman. For this next 2 hours, we're going to talk comics on the Sunday Funnies, hopefully. We'll see where the conversation goes. Sometimes it has a tendency to wander. I am a longtime alternative and independent comics producer, publisher, creator. I've done everything in the comic book market that you can imagine, except for cosplay. I've never cosplayed before, but that might change.
We'll work on that. Yeah.
I know I could do Volstagg real easy. It'd be good. So. Anyway, we want to welcome you to the Sunday Funnies. I've done... right now, I was going to say my specialty is commercial art for sequential art for education and advertising, but that's not really true. Right now, I'm restarting Arrow Comics for the direct market and for crowdfunding. And we have a crowdfunding book out there right now called Indie Volt Revolt, which is named, surprisingly, after this radio channel. So, and after Indie Volt Media, as we get a group of our friends together and do some great stories for you to enjoy and read, that's over on Indiegogo right now. Indie Volt Revolt. Hey, I got a cover here I can show you. That actually, I got a couple covers I can show you. One by the great Russ Leach that covers up his face. Point like that.
It's a good thing.
Featuring Death from Only Death Can Save Us, and one by Daphne Lage as well.
Look at that.
Right there,
Quality.
right there. Featuring Mischievous, and we have a special Mischievous tier in the campaign where I'm also selling three issues of the Massive Comics Tales from the Universe book, which really does in a lot of ways focus on Mischievous as a character. In fact, the second issue has a great gallery of different artists in doing their interpretations of the character, which I'm have always been proud of. And we've got people like Tim Vigil and Tim Tyler and Kirk Jarvinen and John K. Snyder III, and it just some people you know and some people you don't know, and some people I've lost touch with for the last 2 decades since the book was out. So, but also, it's a fun tier.
Also, Backer 50 on the Indie Volt Revolt campaign gets a Mischievous convention sketch by me added to their order.
And don't let those numbers, when you get your contributor number, fool you, because they jumped a couple in my list for some reason. And we had one guy that stayed long enough to make a donation and then pull it. So I think he just wanted that little ding on his contribution campaign, whatever, for Indiegogo. So, well, we won't say who it is in order to shame him, Brian Porter. But anyway. Along with me today is our co-host, Daphne Lage. Daphne,
hello, good morning. Good morning. My name is Daphne Lage, and I am a cartoonist, illustrator, and comic book artist from New York. And I have been self-publishing comics since 1992, so I somewhat know what I'm talking about. I am known for the funny animal fantasy Tall Tales and my medieval soap opera drama, Eagle Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn. And you can read both my comics at Tall Tales, TAILS, online.com, and eagleworks.com, EGOWORKS, where you can sign up for my newsletter and also get updated for when the Tall Tales Volume 1 trade paperback goes live on Kickstarter March 29th. And Eagle Raven issue 2 goes live May 3rd. Almost forgot my dates there. And if you want to watch videos of how I make these comics, you can check out my YouTube channel at Daphne Lage, Lage Art.
Awesome. And also joining us today, well, I should also mention I'm in Burton, Michigan. So this is really a crazy podcast from crazy places.
We're worldwide.
Yeah, we're worldwide. I'm about 2 miles south of the lead water line in Flint, Michigan. So my water has always been good, but others not so lucky. Also joining us today is Russ Leach. Russ, introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's also crazy here in the UK. We officially went bonkers yesterday, I think, which is about six months after you lot went.
Lost your minds again, huh?
Yeah, again, completely. Some of us were even tipping tea into the harbour. It was incredible.
You're tipping your own tea. What is this?
My claim to fame is I am not Daphne Lage, and I do not know what I'm talking about. When I'm not shouting at parked cars, you can find me drawing comics. I've had a long, illustrious, bizarre career in different guises, lots of different lives in publishing, production, design, and all kinds of different places for retail. Decided I wanted to draw comics, but was told I shouldn't bother quite early on, but came back and started drawing comics in anger since 2010, whereby I got my chance to work on brands such as Warner, such as Cartoon Network and Doctor Who, and did some stuff with Marvel. And now I'm creating my own books. Basically, Only Death Can Save Us is out currently. Had a successful campaign with that. It's in demand. If you want the original book, it's still there, and it will be reproduced via Arrow Comics at some point in the near future. Cool. So I'm looking forward to that. So I am now part of two families, not just the Doctor Who family, but I'm now part of the Arrow Comics family, and I am incredibly proud of that. So there we go.
Okay. Well, we're happy to have you.
Oh, that's okay. I just forced my way in. I know I wasn't. I know nobody said I could do that. I just
So you
that's the way it
twisted
is.
you twisted our
Yeah.
arm, Russ.
I'll be coming in and taking names. I know where you live. Don't worry. It's not that far on the plane.
Yeah, you can't find us, or you can find us. We're easily found. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the other alternative was paid assassin, but I never took that job
Right.
opportunity up, unfortunately.
I have a basement I can lock you in.
Oh, again?
Right.
Oh.
And I'll be like,
Not
Did you draw me more pictures of death? More under
Yes.
the door. Under the
Get
door.
some-
Just slide them under the
yes.
door.
Get some slid under that.
I have a sandwich for you.
Sandwich. Make me a sandwich.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So hey, that DC, huh? Jumping them prices.
Of course.
Hey, guess what, kids? If you like $4, now you get to pay $6.
I mean, didn't you say that this was happening? It just happened
did.
sooner than you thought.
I was stunned a little this week.
Yeah.
Bleeding Cool, and I was going to pull up that article, but so help me, Bleeding Cool, you have so many freaking ads all over your site that no way am I going to show that.
Yeah, really.
In order to give your advertisers free advertising.
Yeah. Exactly.
But don't go to Bleeding Cool and read that article because really it doesn't say a whole lot anyway. But just know that DC plans on raising their prices of their comics up to $6. They might add a couple more pages of actual work inside, but it'll be at least 12 pages, I think, of ads, not counting the covers. I think they're aiming for.
They're talking
about
40 pages, aren't they? They reckon there's going to be 22 pages of strip and an 8-page backup, which adds up to 30. So God knows what else they're going to be sticking in there. Whereas I'm sure there will be much better value out in other places.
Yeah.
Well, here at Arrow, we're looking at restarting in August, and I was thinking 32 pages, a 32-page comic, but probably 28 of that being actual comic book material with a few house ads and, the front cover and the back cover, whatever. That's 32 plus a cover, so it's really 36 for $5. And I was worried at the time that might be a little high.
Oh no!
But with the print runs that we have, we have to justify the cost. But DC, on the other hand,
that's the crazy thing about it. It is like that they probably costs them like cents to print their books, and it's like, oh no, we got to crank that up to an unreasonable level. I mean, if I had to, I don't think I would ever have gotten into comics now. Because of the price point, it's that's like a lot for so little story.
Not just that, but they've been circulating 100-page super spectaculars or 100-page giants through the Walmarts for $4.99. And they're still. Last time I knew, they were still doing it. They might have stopped doing it by now, but it was reprints, granted. And, in my opinion, it was a bad age for them to be reprinting because there's so many continued stories, 1 of 6 or 2 of 5 or whatever. That was a genuine mess. And it's very rare to get a self-contained comic, but they've been moving these through Walmart's 100 pages. Just like the old super spectaculars I used to buy for 60 cents. I was happy to see the format out. Until I opened it up. And then because they go out to as has been said, the normies to the Walmart audience, they have to go through and sanitize all of the female structures.
Oh, that's the worst.
In the store. So you get a Michael Turner story that looks and before they said the women looked unnatural. Now they really look unnatural because they've flattened out the butts and they've curved down the breasts and they've added more to the costumes and it's just ridiculous.
I can go on a tour or rant just on that.
I didn't realize they'd done that to the comics.
They did. They have. Yep. Now
all
of those books
to buy them.
Yep.
So.
All the books going out there to the Walmarts are sanitized in one form or another, and then they're still continued. So.
I mean, I'm surprised that because like if it's one thing you got to give the Japanese is all the different formats that they do their books, and the most interesting one is something like Shonen Jump and those big telephone books. That it's like, you know, it's the cheapest thing out there. You get like a thick, really thick book, and you get all these different stories in it that they eventually collect. And I'm surprised that never caught on here. I mean, probably the closest I saw that was like the I have the Conans where they collected them on newsprint, and now it's like you can't even find those anymore. So
and those, sorry to keep the camera on me.
No,
Those are the essentials in the showcase.
Yeah,
present.
look at how great that is.
And if you were lucky to get to Ollie's, which is an end run store because DC and Marvel cleaned out their warehouse of all of their leftover stuff, and you were able to find, say, the Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew. Look at how thick that book is.
Yeah.
Boom.
Wow.
Look at it.
What did that cost you? 20 bucks? Not even.
Oh, no. I think I might have even pulled the sticker off of this. Normal retail on this was $20.
Yeah, you see, that's
But this is, and again, it's a reprint, and again, it is in black and white. It is printed on newsprint. But how much and how special do you need this stuff to be?
exactly.
You know, look at that. It's 26 at least issues. I think it's more than that. I think the original run was 25 issues. Plus, there's a 3-issue miniseries in the back. Let me check here, because this is an extra thick one.
Also the East Coast version of Ollie's, I guess, would be
18.
Books A Million.
No, that Books A Million are all over the place.
Oh, okay, all right.
Ollie's is another end run chain like Big Lots or whatever. When they run out of stuff, that Captain Carrot ran 20 issues, and some of that was thicker than average. And the Oz Wonderland Wars ran 3 issues. So this is 23 issues worth of material. Usually there's 25 issues in one of these showcases. If you're ever at a show or at a retailer where you can find these, it's definitely worth the $20 to pick that up. I think I got this for $5.
Wow, yeah. I mean, but that's
what
a
Ollie's was
bargain
selling
at
it
twice
for.
the price, and I'm not even
if you don't like
speechless
Captain
about
Carrot, that's a bargain.
Yeah.
You know? And this has got some great cartoony artwork, superheroics with funny animals blended in by Scott Shaw. A lot written by Roy Thomas. I believe it was Roy Thomas or Mark Evanier. Let me check here. I could be wrong. Gary Conway, Scott Shaw, Roy Thomas. Yeah, Roy Thomas wrote a lot of this. Scott Shaw wrote some of it.
You know, and the thing is, though, and that I know is probably even cheaper for them to make.
It's phenomenal. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know, and it's like, oh no, we're not doing that. We're just going to make you pay $5 for 40 pages instead.
Yeah. Yep. If you're lucky, $6. $6 for 40 pages, 30 pages of comics, and you know, the rest of it all house ads, which pays for the printing.
Yeah. You know, and that's the thing. It's like, what would be like the main reason for them to be like overlooking, like actually discontinuing those books? Like, I know that the Conans are out of print.
On the essentials?
Yeah. That I don't understand. Why is it that
trying to get Conan is nightmarish?
Yeah.
It's so expensive.
I believe the license, the ERB license, has jumped back to Marvel. And Marvel had it for the longest time while they were doing the regular comics, and then they lapsed it, and it went over to Dark Horse, and Dark Horse adapted everything again. Now, a lot of that stuff's phenomenal with Tim Truman writing or doing artwork, and just real top-notch people working on that stuff. The problem with that is they've kicked those out in different formats as well, but they used modern Photoshop coloring, and a lot of it's just muddy, muddy. Where if you get and Marvel did an Essentials during that period, they did an Essentials of Conan that reprinted the first 25 issues. Barry Windsor Smith, all in black and white.
I have the Savage Sword of Conan upstairs.
And then from what I understand, the ERB people came back and said, "Hey, you don't own license for that." So you'll never see that Conan volume ever out again.
Wow. So if you find it,
you're lucky.
Yeah.
Very expensive as well. I've found.
I would imagine that eBay is selling them for a pretty high premium.
Yeah. I mean, I pick up the essentials wherever possible. I got one here.
Yeah.
I think this one only cost me like £15 pounds, so it's like $20.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I looked online. I was trying to get hold of the Thor ones, and some of the issues are like $100.
Wow.
Now that they charge what they think they can get for it.
Well, that's
It's
true.
only worth as much as you can get money for it.
It depends. It depends if you can find a shop that has old ones still in stock.
Yeah.
They will sell them for you to you for the right price.
Right.
And so I picked up another one for $25.
Yeah.
So.
And there was a period there where Diamond was blowing out their stock to anybody.
Right. Yeah. That's how I got a bunch of them for like $5 each.
But the reason why these have been through the Ollies and the end run stores is that the way that it's printed, it's overseas, and it's almost as cheap to print 10,000 or 20,000 over there as it is to print 5,000, because it's just a matter of leaving the press on for another 15 or 20 minutes,
Right.
literally, because they're all done, especially the newsprint material is all done on a huge web press, folded, cut, trimmed, with a little bit of glue down the side. That's a lot of times, if you look at the spine of the book, you can see they're all done in different little sections. So they're all stuck together and glued with a real thin bead of glue, enough to stick it all together. And then another larger bead of glue along the spine in order to put the cardboard cover on it. And stuck out to dry. If you see that, let me see if I got a book that's got that look to it. Real obvious. I probably don't real handy. I got a lot of stuff sitting here, so you're going to hear books falling all through the program.
Right. It's book ASMR.
Yeah. Here, if you look really close at this right there, you can see the different sections on the spine here, where everything's all glued, pinched together and glued up again.
Yeah,
this is a volume of Nathan Never that Dark Horse kicked out from the Bernelli. I think they're pronounced from Italy. Bernelli or Bertinelli.
Probably Brunelli.
It's a big format over there. It's just slightly smaller than this, though. But it's the comics are designed for that format.
That's a squarer format, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit like the proportionately similar to 2000 AD.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Only they're printed a lot smaller.
Yeah.
But the artwork on these, some of these are just absolutely incredible.
Lovely.
It's beautiful
Love it,
stuff.
love it.
Yeah. And Dark Horse did a small run of these. Apparently, they didn't make money on it because they only ran like 4 or 5 of 3 or 4 different titles. There was Nathan Never, Dylan Dog,
Right.
another adventurer guy, and I think a supernat. No, that was Dylan. Maybe 3 different types. I'd have to look. I've got them all in the closet there.
Yeah.
But
I seriously considered doing Only Death Can Save Us in black and white.
yeah.
Well, it would
Seriously
work.
seriously thought about it. But maybe later. Maybe
Right.
put more
You
together
could do
later.
because it's like you could put out something that looks like an Essentials Conan and just
Yeah.
on newsprint and
would-
really go all the way
I'd
with that.
quite like to do an oversized one as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Those wow. It's like because it's kind of like I kind of go on both ends here. So I like the really cheap versions, and then I like those absolutely gorgeous editions where it's like they reproduce the pages at actual size, and it shows the all the whiteout and the rubber cement and everything.
Oh, those are IDW artist.
Yeah,
editions. And
because
those
we
are
have
sweet.
we have one from Mike Plug, and it's just
I bet it is.
magic. It's just magic looking through it.
Especially back in those days, because you probably see the Zipatone curl up
Oh
on the side.
yeah.
And all the whiteout splattered all over it. It's amazing.
Like all the things that were considered flaws back then that
Yeah.
people are trying to imitate now digitally.
Yep. Well, here's a copy of Destroy. That's in kind of a treasury size edition. This was kicked out by Eclipse. This is Scott McCloud's version of superheroics and his treaty of superheroism. It's a hilarious book, a lot of action, a lot of fun stuff going on, also in black and white. They reprinted this
great.
2 or 3 different ways.
Yeah.
Just some incredible stuff.
Right.
Good guy,
Proper-
bad. Good guy,
Proper
bad guy.
inking is such
Oh, yeah.
it is so sexy. I swear. I love being but then again it's probably because I'm blind as a bat, so I'm able to see really good inking. The better the inking, the more I can see it.
This was a fight all the way through New York City, and on the last page, on the inside back cover, He has a map of the
Oh,
island
yeah. It's
to
like
show
you were here.
the path of destruction. So it's this great big superhero supervillain fight. They're throwing characters and through buildings and picking up like the top of the Chrysler building and banging somebody over the head, and they're all fighting back and forth.
Nice.
And,
He has the map there, just so to give everyone a frame of reference. You're here, now you're here.
the superhero's girlfriend gets hit by a piece of debris. And it makes him even more mad at the villain, who's in blind rage already. That's why it's called Destroy. The supervillain pretty much says destroy all the way through the fight. And then at the end, after he's defeated the villain and all of this wreckage has happened, the chief of police comes running up to the hero, and he goes, I think it's the hero or the female lead, the girlfriend. No, to a fellow cop, and he goes, well, at least nobody got hurt.
Oh boy.
Just classic stuff. And again, if you ever find a copy of Destroy out there in your retailer boxes, it's in regular comic format. It's in that treasury size format. I think they kicked it out in a prestige format and color. Okay. There's 2 or 3 different versions of that book, and it's good reading, and it's a lot of fun. Good old style superheroics from the eyes of Scott McCloud, who did Understanding Comics, and a few other books, instructional books on comics. His Understanding Comics is amazing, though. Well worth your time. When you talk about big comics, I got the big one. You saw treasury size right there.
Right, yeah.
This is the
oh my god,
Whammo Giant Comics.
You know, that reminds me of the books that like some of the crazy books you could get through the Scholastic Book Club in school.
When I had this given to me by the retailer who had it. It had it sitting on a shelf. In fact, they had to dust the dust off of it because it'd been sitting up there for so long. He, in fact, folded it. I know, travesty, but there's where are you going to find
they
a
didn't
board
know.
this
They
big?
didn't know better. Yeah.
They didn't know. Yeah. But a lot of this is material that Wally Wood and his studio had put together over the years, and then Whammo, who was the company that used to have Frisbee, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's right. I was trying to I don't know if they also did like Silly Putty or something, or is it just Frisbee?
There used to be a toy manufacturer.
Yeah.
Decided, wouldn't it be cool to do a giant comic book? And this.
Well, yes, it would be.
Yes,
this thing's about
incredibly
3 foot tall by about 18 inches wide. And what they did is that they took comic pages and cut them to fit. Oh, I'm going to be careful here. The spine on this is already coming apart. Let me blow this up here just to show everybody. All in color, all in newsprint, all different strips. There's a couple of superhero strips in here of a character from Wally Wood. Wally Wood art, a lot of people that you'd recognize. And, hey, it's even approved by the Comic Code Authority.
Oh, brother.
Right there.
A wonderful thing to have.
Because that's when it was done. Pardon me, this thing's still dusty. So.
It probably has that smell.
No, actually, it doesn't.
No,
it's got a little water damage to it. It was, like I said, it was sitting on the top of a retailer's shelf for quite a while. And he's like, I'm like looking at it going, how much you want for this? I said, this is cool. How much you want for it? He says, you're the first person to really look at it, so just take it.
Oh.
Radian.
There you go.
Let me blow this up again so folks can actually see some decent great Wally Wood art they might not have ever seen before.
Oh, that spine. Oh my God, the spine is falling.
Oh yeah, it
sad.
is.
Awesome.
But it is.
Look at that.
It's delicate now, but it's incredible when it came out. It's all flaking out.
Right.
This is in poor shape, and they boast, of course, over 1,500 action panels, world's largest coloring book.
That's funny.
Or not coloring book, comic book. And at the time, it's 98 cents.
Right, yeah.
Oh.
Jeez.
98 cents. That's the giant comics from Whammo. Ask your retailer today and look at the expression on his face. What?
What? Yeah, I know.
What?
They probably, it's like, how do you even store that,
Well, obviously, the local retailer had a problem with
Well,
it.
yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you, there was a layer of dust
Yeah.
on this puppy that you would not believe.
I mean,
But-
it is funny to see how different formats make, make publishers and retailers panic, though.
It's not even folded evenly.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the problem. That's part of the
Yeah.
problem nowadays. Like we said before the opening,
Yeah.
Diamond has dictated so much of this industry for so long, for the last 30 years. Even the DC new format that they have, which is a nice magazine-sized book, is set to be just big enough to fit in that Diamond box.
Right.
in order
I
for
mean,
them to
because
ship.
it's like I remember like a couple of years ago, there was like a big controversy where I forgot what company it was. They were trying to bring over I don't know, one of these French comics,
Mhm.
and instead of just printing it like at a smaller size or just printing it as is, they started rearranging the panels.
Oh,
And it was there was such a freak out from like the original publisher, and I don't know if the artist was involved or something, but they completely ruined like the storytelling aspect of the book because they were trying to force it into
that
comic
would be
book
a problem.
size. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Speaking of forcing into size,
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
I had some old style paperbacks here.
Oh, those were fun. Yeah.
I used to love looking for these. Just love it.
those scholastic days.
They
With
would
the book
take-
club.
They would take Mad Comics, they would take comic strips and
Yeah.
put them into that form. They would take
yeah.
old, even underground comics and put them into.
Yeah, definitely
paperback book
Scholastic
form.
did not have that one.
I've got
No.
I've got a couple of those. I've got a Fantastic Four one with a whole
Yes.
bunch of Kirby in it.
Yeah.
And I've got a Micronauts one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
A
both really
Micronauts.
cool. Yeah, Micronauts.
really. That I
Yeah,
don't think
yeah.
I've ever seen that. But a lot of these, they took the old Mad Comics. Let me blow that up again for our viewing audience, because a lot of you folks might not have ever seen that. They would take them by
Yeah.
tiers and stick them sideways into the book in black and white. The first 24 issues of Mad were set up like a comic book. So you got some, and at that point, you got some phenomenal artwork by Wally Wood and Jack Davis and Bill Elder, just kicking the walls out. Look at the detail. And that was a sixth of a comic page, folks, right there. Take a look. That is Will Elder doing Howdy Doody. Actually, they called it Howdy Do It. Right there. Howdy Do It. And they poked fun. It was a parody book. They poked fun at all of the big books of the day. They did Plastic Sam instead of Plastic Man, Super Duper Man instead of Superman. And they would talk about the Super Duper Man, especially the story for that. He's fighting Captain Marvelous because at the time they were going through the court battle, and Captain Marvelous actually came out on top in the story. It's pretty fun.
Man, it's like I really don't understand why they're shying away from these formats.
Taking their chances on Disney. Here's Mickey Rodent.
Ha. That's a dangerous move.
Had the running gag that whenever Donald would come in, they'd say Donald Duck, and he'd go, "Yeah, that's my name," and he'd always get hit in the back of the head by something.
I love jokes like that.
Oh, the simple. It's like watching the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like-
Which you're
it's
not
just-
allowed to do anymore.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm doing it just fine. Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's next on my list.
No, sorry, you're not allowed to do it without feeling some kind of terrible. Guilt.
No, you know what's funny? You know what's funny? Because I guess it's like because I don't know. It's like I appreciate the compromise that they did, where it's like they just put a disclaimer at the beginning and then just run it unedited. It's like, you know what? If that's what I need to put up with, then that's fine.
Yeah.
I would rather put up with disclaimer and get to the the punchline of the telephone pole joke.
Yeah. That's fair enough. My personal view is put stuff out there. If you don't like it, turn the telly off.
No, exactly.
That Boy
So
and Reuben
you know.
by Wally Wood.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
If you don't like something, put it down. Don't talk about it. Just go do
Yeah.
something else. You
Yeah,
you don't have to rip down what everybody else is thinking is acceptable.
Right, exactly.
Just don't do it. If you don't like it, walk away. But
Yeah,
people
God
can't do that
forbid,
these days. It's like if they don't like it, it means everybody has to like. Not
yeah,
like it.
it's like yeah,
It's like living in 1950s again. It's incredible. I mean,
Well,
over,
no,
over here
it's
we had Mary Whitehouse, and over there you had McCarthyism.
yeah.
It's like, do what we say, or you are a non-believer, and as such will be burnt at the stake.
But
Except
even
now it's being burnt at the digital stake.
Yeah, even back then you had completely different levels of humor, because a lot of the humor now is completely gone because you can't laugh at
Humor.
anything.
What humor? Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing left.
I mean,
Certainly
it's
nothing
like,
left on the BBC. that's
you
for
know,
sure.
it's like, look, I remember Tipper Gore going through her rampage. So it's like, it's just the targets get different.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of that, the targets just change, but
Yeah.
the ideology remains the same.
We had some odd formats over here in the UK. Obviously, we had we had reprints of things like the event and what have you. But over here we had like quite a large format.
Oh yeah,
So
Yeah.
magazine format.
I got one
obviously-
for you.
Still get hold of the old.
Actually, I got
my-
a couple.
I mean,
There's
it was a I love
Oh yeah,
Garth.
Garth.
Yeah.
Here's a
I've-
reprint of Garth.
Yeah.
I've
Look
got
at
some
this
of those. Yeah, I've got some of those in from Gary. Gary, the Far Side, Gary Larson.
Right.
as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
I've got some Garth
those were
ones as well. Yeah.
staples.
And-
Staples.
And everybody thinks Garfield created this
Yeah,
format
that's true.
over
Yeah,
here, and
that's
they
true.
really no, they didn't.
Although
And,
we had this bizarre format.
I have to look on this before. Yes, I love those old Titans. Open
just-
that up here. Hang on. Let me increase your screen. Show
So
that
they used to print on the inside of the cover as well.
newsprint. Yeah,
Straight in. Yeah.
four pages at once. 2 pages knocked up against one another.
Yeah.
Usually the splash page there, if they weren't starting the story, they had somebody at the Marvel bullpen quickly draw up a splash page for the middle of the story. A lot of times they cut the stories in half and just continue them. So was that weekly over there? Or was that monthly?
Yeah, that at the time that was weekly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That at the time that was weekly. This one is 1976.
Because
And
they ended up-
bless me, I've coloured in the little 9-pence thing.
Oh well, that's how you knew it was yours.
That's how I knew it was mine. Yeah. I obviously there was still. I managed to get hold of an American copy of this.
oh yeah.
There's an old Superman here. Superman there.
Hang on, I'm currently shuffling through all of the stuff that I stuck on my my table. So I wanted to show you. They kicked out. Here we are. They also kicked out. Let me enlarge my screen here for a second.
Yeah.
They also kicked out Titan pocket books,
Oh, look at that.
which were half the size. As you can see, they didn't bother to increase the page from those original Titans any. They just folded it an extra time and stuck a staple on it.
It's like those were like the
That was
little
15p.
supermarket books.
Oh,
Just imagine now walking into your comic shop and picking up that book. Let's compare it to a regular size comic.
yeah.
Look at how much smaller that is. And again, it's half. It's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
close to
yeah.
half of the size here, where they took the comic and just folded.
But that's exactly what they were. You could stick them in your pocket, in your back pocket.
Yep.
Stick it between your bicycle spokes.
Just like those old paperbacks. That's what they were made for. Just the right size for your back pocket.
Oh,
Those paperbacks were awesome. It was a great format. It's still around, but you have to hit the box stores and
The thing
and
is,
look
though,
around.
is like with so many.
that's that standard format.
I
Yeah.
mean,
in the UK.
that's the thing. I remember back then all these different formats, and the thing is, though, so what was the main reason for doing like all these different formats as opposed to now where they're just trying to I guess they're trying to standardize everything, or is it just like how the printers work? Like they needed to keep the presses going, so.
I
No,
don't know. Was it because there was just so much?
again, I think it's because you got stuck in this rut for 30 years with a direct market distributor who said, look, our boxes are made this big.
Yeah.
Big enough for you to stack 2 comics next to one
Right.
another. This is the size that your book needs to be. These are the size of the poly bags that we and other manufacturers sell. This is the size of the backing board. And that whole mindset still goes on today. And it's so crazy to think that we are in such an age of alternative and creative comics. We can do any size we want. I mean, if we want a book that's and you only get a choice, even from the print on demand guys. If you want to do a anime size or a manga size book, it's a certain size. If you want to do a regular comic size book, it's a certain size. There's nobody out there that's playing, and the playing part of it was so important. At least to me, back then, it was so cool to walk in or walk into a show and see an oddball looking book. And it really stood out like a sore thumb. You're like, oh, that's weird. I think I got to buy that. You know, that's how I found a lot of those Marvel reprints, like the Fantastic Four book that Russ was talking about. Marvel went through and reprinted a bunch of their stuff in the paperback format and color.
Yeah.
For quite a while when I was a kid, I used to hunt those down like crazy, even though I couldn't hardly read them, because even back then the print was so small. You almost had to have a magnifying glass to read, but they were still a lot of fun. Or you went through and did can't show that page.
Oops.
I was going to say they would go through and cut and paste the strips open, or the strips over for you to see it. This is a Starhawks collection. This is by Gil Kane. This was a comic strip that Gil Kane and Ron Goulart did for quite a few years after Star Wars came out. And that was the way it was done for the newspapers, was 2 tiers, 2 comic strip tiers tall. And they used to play with the format on that a lot. And they have reprinted Starhawks because the stories are so evergreen in so many different ways, and just about every format that you can imagine. And Gil Kane's art is so
look at how it just pops from the page, even at that size.
Yep. And his art is so I don't know what the word is, but you can see it from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's made minimalist, I guess you would almost say.
I mean,
That
which is ironic.
Look at all those dynamics.
Considering how much detail is actually on the page.
Yeah.
You know,
it's crazy to sit and look.
Keep saying it, economy of line.
Yeah, for real.
Economy of line is what sets apart genius.
Look at that shot right there, the spaceship flying.
Yeah.
That's just fantastic. All line work.
And it doesn't. People can look at, like, so for instance, you look at Jim Lee's work, and people will look at it and go, "Oh my God, look at all the detail in there."
Right.
And I did the same thing when I was younger.
Yeah, we all did.
But actually, all the lines that you see there, they're there for a reason. There's no pap. There's no like, oh, I'll just chuck in some cross hatching for the hell of it. It all works.
Yeah, it's like we all went through that crazy phase, you know, with Image and trying to, because it's like I remember Will Eisner got on me about that. It's like stop drawing these unnecessary lines. You know?
That's another book I've got here. Will Eisner.
The Comics and Sequential Art.
No. I've got a copy of Winning. There we go. But just looking at the book,
I'm going to enlarge that.
That's a really weird size.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's magazine size. That's what we would call magazine size over here.
That's a very odd size. But it just, when you talk about economy of line, you look at this stuff.
Right,
oh, yeah. Very much so.
It's just,
and this was done towards the latter part of his life, too.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing to see
the characterization in that page alone.
Yeah.
Just brilliant.
If you ever get a chance to go through and buy his comics and sequential art, I always recommend it to anybody that asks me what books on comic instructional to do, because Eisner is such an example of not just composition and economy of line, but the body language. Everything is so key.
Yeah.
And that book goes in and explains how every story, especially, and he takes at least one spirit story and breaks it down completely. I did this panel for this reason, that panel for that reason. It's very much an instructional textbook, and it's written on a college level, I think.
Yeah,
Because every time I go through and reread it, I always pick up something else.
Because it's not a beginner's book. It's not a how-to book. It's kind of like more academic You know,
Yeah.
so it's like
Yeah,
you
for
kind of
those-
have to
for those-
already go in knowing what you're.
For those
looking-
artists looking to join, looking to try and do this kind of stuff, sequential art, they need to understand that it's not like the rest of your art.
Yeah.
It just isn't. And there are great artists out there who have done very realistic work,
Right.
but personally, I find it doesn't work as well.
Mhm.
It's about that motion, emotion, gravity, form, storytelling, and
Yeah.
it's not about making a photorealistic page. It
Yeah.
really isn't.
It
It
really,
isn't.
yeah,
Yep.
especially
So
since
true.
you lose a lot of that detail when it's printed and
Yep.
colored, and
Well,
it's like
as soon as you add another layer of
Right.
detail or another layer of rendering, you
Uh-huh.
lose the energy of the original drawing. So
yeah,
And a lot of people want to pick on the golden age guys and say, well, they really didn't know what they were doing compared to modern day. A lot of these guys were inventing what they were doing.
yeah,
Like I use CC Beck as a big example of that, coming in out of an advertising background and realizing what comics really were. Comics were color, comics were movement, comics were minimalism. And Alex Toth, the same way, though he did a lot of that during his animation days, where he
yeah.
took his style and just stripped it down to real bare bones,
Right.
black and white. That it's amazing to sit there and see, or you go through the old Jack Cole Plastic Man books, because I never realized it until I read the Spiegelman article in the New Yorker, where he pointed out that Cole was really a master at composition, and because Plastic Man could bend any possible way you can imagine, he literally used him as a compositional tool to push your eye through the story, left to right, up to down. And it's so fascinating now to go back and read those stories and go, oh yeah, look at how that worked. Wow.
Yeah, it's like
Plastic Man
people,
stretching there and your eye is just going in that direction. It's really good.
Yeah, a lot of people really don't understand. This is not chance on page.
Yeah.
It's like this is all deliberate, very deliberate decisions on behalf of the story.
yeah.
Yeah.
We are falling behind in the chat again,
Uh-huh.
folks. Sorry about that. Wow. I guess we really are.
Oh well.
Let's see here. Empyrean Vol says, good morning, everyone. Good morning,
Good morning.
Empyrean. Rival Turtle. Chris is in the house. Hello, Sunday Funnies. Good morning,
Hello.
Chris. Hope you're doing well. Shared, and good morning. Thanks,
Thank
Mike,
you.
very much.
Yeah.
Watching JL. Oh, must be JLA, but wanted to say hi.
Justice League.
Justice League.
Everyone's watching.
Trish has back jaw, has number 25. Yes.
There you-
Thanks, Mike, very
Yes.
much. Deeply appreciate that. And I have a sketch coming for her too. So how much is the book? Which book?
Yeah,
Mr.
right.
Mr. Turtle, we've been talking about books, a lot of different books. If you're talking about our book, it's over on Indiegogo under Indie Volt Revolt. Yes, people thought I missed being back at 25. I was off. Got a surprise for backing at 25. Yeah,
There you
yep,
go.
Chris. You can't go by the contributor number. You have to go by the backer number that's in the campaign. Right there, we are at 33 backers, and looking for a lot more. So tell your friends.
Yes.
Morning, beautiful lady and handsome gentleman.
Hello.
There we are.
Thank-
Good morning, Trish.
Thank you.
Sugar says hello. Hail everyone. Hail,
Hello.
Sugar.
Hey, sugar.
Hello.
Hail to you. Joe's in the house. Morning, all. Morning, Joe.
Okay.
Rival Turtle again says, I just bought the book. Awesome.
Oh, thank you.
If it's our book, thank you very much. If it's not, then I hope you have fun with whatever book you bought.
There you go.
Good morning. Good, happy morning, Sunday Funny guys.
Hello.
Happy
Good
morning,
morning.
John. John, we have to have you back on the program real soon. I want to do another old guys talking comics. We did that last week. I was hoping John would be able to come in, but he couldn't quite make it. So, but we had a big full house last week. So we got to have Rob Davis back up too, whenever he's not driving his bus, and Roland whenever he's awake enough. They're probably raising the price to $6 for the same reason Bleeding Cool has all the ads.
Yeah.
They're struggling
Yeah.
to stay afloat. I don't think Dick's struggling to stay afloat.
It's
I think
it's
he's
just to
doing
make
pretty
more
well.
room for
He's just-
advertising.
He's
and-
just slaughtering ads all over the place.
Yeah.
There's a difference between enough and way too much. Anyway,
I think they're,
In my
I think
opinion.
DC
They-
may be struggling to legitimize themselves as a publishing department of AT&T.
yeah.
I think
true.
that's an actual
DC,
thing.
yeah.
yeah.
Because they're just not selling enough books. Pretty simple, really.
Honestly, Russ, I don't think they care.
And
Well,
I don't-
AT&T
I don't
doesn't.
think
I don't
Yeah.
think AT&T cares. It's like,
Yeah.
don't lose us money.
Right.
That's their rule right now
Yeah.
to DC Publishing. Don't lose us money. We're using your IP so much. We're making so much in every other direction. Don't lose us money.
Yeah.
Because they're doing, if they wanted to make money up there, they can make hardcore money.
Yeah.
All they got to do is swap formats, more Showcase Presents books or thinner
Mhm.
Showcase Presents books. And seriously, they could bump into the dollar stores if they wanted to.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's
know.
kind of weird, some of these decisions.
And I
Because-
didn't pull a copy out of here, but again, I've said this a couple of times already. DC did Wednesday comics to the retailers every week. It was a newsprint format, no staples, folded down newspaper that fit in a comic bag or a magazine bag at least.
Right.
They could and should have kept that format going because they would have built a following.
I think it's because business decisions are not made on the fact that they're
Logic.
a business. Well,
Yeah.
they're not based on the fact that they're a business that sells comics.
Yeah.
They are
Well, yeah,
a
that's
department
true.
of a business that does other
Yep.
things.
Right.
And so because of that, it's how much money can you make, not does it make money.
Right.
And so
yeah.
it just becomes it's just not worth making that kind of dough when AT&T are making billions out of something else.
Right. But on their profit margin scale, if you compared Wednesday comics to even the books that they were kicking out back then, the cover price on that could have been $2
Mhm.
easy, but they put 4 on it.
Right.
So it's not like they were losing money, because I know how much they were spending to print the thing, which is next to nothing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And I was real worried that they would keep that going, because I was doing Flint Comics at the time and was hoping to franchise the idea out to any other city that would listen, because it's so much fun to do and your overhead really isn't that much. So, one of the frustrations.
It's almost like they really don't want to expose the general population to actual comics.
And
Like, even though they're separating themselves from the Diamond model, they're still kind of beholden to it, because it's like they could just as easily have put everything in like dollar stores or supermarkets again, but they're like saying, no, we're still following this model.
Well, they were in Walmarts for $5 for 100 pages. If they'd have bothered to put good reprints in that book, they would have gained a huge following.
You've got a dichotomy as well, because the industry is full of people that don't want to say comics are for kids, okay, or that comics are in some way less than they actually are, which is true, okay? Comics aren't just for kids, and comics are so much more than they are. But at the same time, they're not willing to say, sell them cheap, stack them high, get them to as many people as you possibly can, because everybody should be able to have part of this. So there's this kickback against, oh no, you shouldn't do things in newsprint. It's just not viable. Utter rubbish.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Because the Japanese obviously don't have an issue with this.
No.
Oh no, that Shonen Jump is on literally the cheapest paper that they could find, and it's multicolored. Even some of the print ink that they have on there is off. Isn't solid black. They use dark brown. They use purples. They use all sorts of different colors. Just whatever's handy. But again, using different colors on that, using different papers denotes changes in story. And it also different inks are the same way. I'm sure they figured out that some of these inks bring on different emotions or feelings. Like the girls, the more feminine oriented strips are done in more softer tones, and the guys' stuff is done in harsher, solid black and white. There's a female romance strip, really, that's done on pink paper. Just pink newsprint they've got sitting around.
You probably wouldn't get away with that now, though, would you? Pink for women? Come on.
How do you know?
Stop
Nobody's
it.
tried it. Nobody's
It's
tried it over
sexist.
here in the States.
Misogyny in every corner.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I mean, and what's funny is that red, pink originally started in the Victorian times as a masculine color because it was considered light red.
Yeah.
It's like it was a very vibrant color for boys.
Sun faded red. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So somewhere it's all fake.
It's just bad thoughts, and that's also a problem, especially here in the States, because we're in a kind of dual thought process here,
Yeah.
because everybody was raised as comics being kids literature,
Yeah.
but they're not. And then, like Russ was saying, there's that mind thought that comics aren't for kids.
Right.
Well, what do you do? Over in
Yeah,
Japan, they never
exactly.
had that problem, and they sell more manga over there than they sell toilet paper.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
it's publicly read all over the place and
Mhm.
accepted everywhere. You know, you
Yeah.
catch a guy in the park or whatever, or
On the train.
on
you
the
know.
train reading
Yeah.
a comic book, he's looked at like, what are you
Right,
reading the
yeah.
kid stuff for?
I mean, what's
You know?
really funny is that, just to show you, like here, I actually saw somebody reading a comic on the train, and I actually got a thrill out of that. Like, ooh,
Yeah.
one of us.
Uh-huh.
It's like what? How stupid is that? That should be completely normal.
Yeah.
But it's not. That's how not normal it is.
Yes, so true.
Yeah.
Trish says, "Morning, Joe. Wait, I have the Dark Horse Conan
Yeah,
collection.
yeah.
Yeah. Question: why mess with the price point where new people won't look at the floppy? To be honest, I won't look at graphic novel unless it's the only format story was released."
Oh, like if
Joe is asking.
comic
Joe,
sized.
yeah, a lot of times that's the only way you can get the whole story is in the graphic novel, because
Yeah.
good luck finding your 1 of 5 or 2 of
Oh
6s.
yeah,
and-
definitely. Yeah.
Well, for example, the wife is an avid reader. She's got a huge stack of comics sitting next to her bed that she's waiting for the next issue on. And sometimes, though we're on a regular pull list, we don't get them all.
Right. And it's like, and then there's some series that they don't even get a trade at all. Like I'm recently going back collecting the DC's Advanced Dungeons and Dragons from 1988. And there's no trade for that, so I have to go back looking for all the original individual issues. And I think there was like 35 of them, and I only found the first 20. So now I have to. I'm on a treasure hunt right now to find the rest
and
of them.
those all probably had very low print runs as well. So,
Right, yeah, because there's still for what they are. I mean, I'm still finding them mostly for $3 a piece, but for how old they are, that is a little on the expensive side, because I'm not finding them in 99-cent boxes.
Yeah.
But no trades. So you can't even
I
trust
think
to wait for a trade.
I think that also ties back to a licensing issue. If they weren't
Well, that's
selling
true.
enough of it, they're not going to collect it. So, and
Yeah.
if they don't have the license for it, there's no way, like back then, they were going to even bother to do a showcase presents on it,
Right.
because a lot of them showcases were done on purpose in order to try to attract Hollywood to different properties. So that's why you got thankfully, you got a War That Time Forgot volume,
Right.
with World War II planes and tanks fighting dinosaurs. Just awesome stuff.
Ooh, how very Harryhausen.
How very DC at the time, put a gorilla or a dinosaur on the cover, son, it's going to sell,
And purples.
that kind of thing. Yeah. But those showcase presents are so awesome. Even the ones that I didn't think were going to be worth nothing. It's like, why are you kicking out a book on Elongated Man?
Right.
It's like, what are you going to do? Reprint all of the backup stuff that was in, well, come to find out, a lot of that backup stuff that was in Flash is Neil Adams, Dick Giordano, and written by some really top-notch writers, and it's really nice stuff. So, yeah, okay. I love this Elongated Man volume, That kind of, just like Captain Carrot. If you haven't read all the Captain Carrots, there's a lot of whimsy in there that you rarely see in comics, especially nowadays.
That's true.
So, just some good stuff. Moving on in the chat, Imperial Vol says, I'd rather have the collection to keep. The floppy is like a periodical that you follow then when they're coming out.
Yeah.
Imperium says, I have an Eisner artist edition that was French. The comics are in English. Cool. I didn't realize it was such a huge format when I got it on eBay. I just thought it was a spirit collection. Gigantic.
Oh, that was a major culture shock for me too when I saw my first bande dessinée in Paris. It's like hardcover, oversized format, and that was like the standard in the entire store. Like if you wanted floppies, you have to go into the basement in a corner where they had the American books.
I picked up this not too long ago.
Yeah.
This is a hardback Adventures of Tintin,
Right. Yeah.
done in a super huge size.
Yeah. It's like I almost had to buy a new
that.
suitcase just to get the books home.
Yeah. As soon as I saw this, I said, I don't care how much it was. I was going to
Uh-huh.
buy it. Retail is $60, but I think I paid 20 for it.
Right.
But Tintin and Hergé, just again, minimalist,
Look at that.
Yeah.
work. Just phenomenal. Good reading, solid stories. There's the Thompson twins. I think down in the corner. Wasn't it? Yes. Right there. That's the Thompson twins.
Great. Thanks for the earworm.
That's how they got their name, by the way.
I'm sure.
No, I promise you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But how many places you see a kid riding a ship that's a suck?
Yes, exactly.
There you go with its dog. There you are.
You know, and
What a
that's
great
the
great book and big.
And that's the funny thing too, because it's like, you know, you guys spoke a little bit about like minimalist artwork, and that's the funny thing, how like there's such a misconception about that, because like I was looking up the original Belgian version of the Smurfs, and I didn't know that the Smurfs were created in 58 or something. So I was looking at all the older Smurfs artwork, and again, it's very simplistic, very cartoony, but you can tell a master drew it.
Oh yeah.
Like there was just that, and that's the kind of thing that I see in European comics, where it's like they go that cartoony style, but there's a certain level of realism in it that's kind of funny to look at.
Well,
because
it's a standard.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they have like these really cartoony features, you know, the dots for eyes and whatnot, and then but you look at their hands, and there's just something about the way the hands are drawn that it's like, this is a master. This is not somebody who learned to draw in a cartoony style. This is somebody who's, like you said, economizing their line, economizing their style.
But it's a perfect
to tell this story.
It's a perfect illustration to those that are wanting to get into any kind of sequential art job or whatever it is, whether it's just pastime. But if you're going to do it, you're going to do it properly. Those guys knew anatomy. They knew how to create weight and gravity and posture. And then they simplified it down, and that's why those books work.
Right.
Because even though they're really simple as far as the character design, you believe it. Your mind believes it. You're fooled into believing the motion and the sequence of the story, even though there's completely bizarre, big thick hands and rubber hose arms and legs and stuff. It doesn't matter. They're still bending in the right place, and they're still poking in the right direction.
Yeah, the rubber hose, the rubber hose arms are definitely the rubber hose arms and legs. It's definitely, but yeah, it's like that's exactly what it is. They're still bending in the right places, and I think that a lot of people get wrapped up more, like a lot of upcoming artists, they get more wrapped up in style than foundation. So when I was looking at this artwork, it's like it's like this is why you need to have that foundation, so you can draw any style you want. As opposed to being locked in.
It is tricky because obviously if you're into it, you're going to notice it more than, say, someone who's just who isn't artistically driven. They just enjoy comics.
Right.
Okay. Or someone completely on the outside. I can show a comic to my wife and I'll say, look at that anatomy. And she'll go,
why are you weird?
What's wrong with you? And then she'll look at it and she'll go, okay. But it's more in depth than that. It isn't just about one panel or one specific thing. So people can get away with having a fabulous style, and their anatomy underneath isn't quite right. And then you look at it on a broad sort of flick through of a comic, and you'll go, oh, this is looking really nice. And then when you read the story, that's when it hits, because the sequencing, the weight, posture, and not just that, but the scene setting, sequential art it's the art itself. It's not just the panel, it's the art of making the sequence. And that's where people fall down, because if you don't understand anatomy, and if you don't understand people, and animals and stuff like that, okay, at least to a reasonable amount before you have to go and get extra reference, because none of us are,
Exactly.
a huge planet brain people. We can't remember everything, but at least if you have that basic understanding, it means you can tell a story properly. It means you can think of it from any angle, and it means that you can make a dynamic sequence of art, and that makes the comic that much better. It doesn't matter. You can have this flat, fantastic pin-up, and then you can have every panel full of beautiful art. But if it's angled not quite right, or if the weight of the person isn't quite right, or the interplay between the positioning of the characters and the scene isn't quite right, it's not going to work. And eventually you won't be able to read it anymore, because something will be wrong, even if you can't actually pinpoint it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the opposite of Uncanny Valley.
Yes.
It's
Yes, exactly.
We missed the top of the hour. I wanted to tell our radio audience you were listening to an episode of the Sunday Funnies for March 21st, 2021, where we're talking about different comic formats and the wide variety that used to be out there.
right,
You can still catch them every once in a while. I think we're still back in the chat, way back up to that Whammo Giant Comics book. Somebody mentions the Frisbee and the Slip and Slide. Empyrean Vol says, I just eBayed one for $80. Empyrean, let me know if that was that Giant Comics book there.
Yeah, and hopefully in better condition.
Curious. Yeah, we hope it's in much better condition. And they're going to have a really interesting time shipping that one to you, buddy. Morning, Scotty. I'm late. Morning, Pops. You're never late. We're always archived over on
Pops.
the YouTube on the Indie Volt channel. In fact, if you're listening to us from the YouTube channel right now, please give us a like. Please subscribe. Please hit that bell for notifications. We're still trying to work our way up to 1,000 subscribers so that we can actually
be demonetized.
take on super chats and be demonetized. Yes. Looking forward to that. All those extra hassles that brings. Congrats on breaking 100%. Yes, Jake, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
We're all part of this. We're just talking about what we love and putting it all together into a book to show folks this is the type of stuff that we do. This is an example of our work. That's what and here I might as well pull it up because I see we just had another person add on. That's all what this book is about. The Indie Revolt book. You can find that over on Indiegogo right now. We are 108% backed. Not that meant a lot because we're print on demand anyway. So this book was going to get in as many people's hands as we could. But still,
round of applause. Yeah,
that's a big thing for our algos, and it goes a long way for helping our exposure. So please tell your friends. Indie Revolt right now, as we speak. The book is 120 some pages long, probably 122, I believe. But if we top another 16 backers, if we hit those 50 backers, it goes up another 10 pages. So.
And speaking of format, this is also in an inch, even though it's standard size. There's an interesting format with this too.
Well, yeah, because I had so many great pieces of art came in so fast for a cover. And I really wanted to use the Jetpack Girl cover because I love that piece of work from Chris Scalf. I don't have an example of a flip book here. I was looking for a regular trade book that I could use as a demonstration. But you're going to be able to pick that book up. Here's a slightly larger than usual book, talking about big little books. And you'll be able to flip that book over and have another front cover right there and be able to go in through about half of the book. So right now it's about 62 on one side, 60 on the other is what it looks like. And it's going to be, it's meant to be a lot of fun. There's over 16 short stories included in the book, a wide range of stories, a wide range of storytelling from a wide variety of people from many different countries. So, and they're all contributors or listeners here to the Indie Volt program. So we deeply appreciate everybody who's worked on that, worked on the book. It's going to be a fun product. I can't wait to put it in your hands. So, and we've got, another 55, I think, days to go. Yep, 55 days left on that campaign. But don't wait, because the longer it takes, if we end up kicking up another 50 readers at the last minute, we're going to have to find a story. And it's got to be good. So you want to get in now so we have a better idea of how many stories we're going to need for this book. And we're not afraid at all to turn this into a big volume book. So again, it's print on demand. So it's like 2 weeks if all the stories are in place. After we get all of the orders, it goes immediately to the printer. I've got the print file sitting here, and I'm playing with them all the time. Whenever we get another stretch goal reached, there's more pages added or more. Hey, you promised me that story. When's that coming in? Calls to go on, and we're just going to keep growing that book for as large as those backers want to make it. And we're not afraid. We're not afraid to add a lot more.
Well, right now you said that we're at 122 pages, right? So are you doing it square bound or is it stapled
absolutely.
Okay,
no.
All right.
No.
Yeah.
It's gonna be square bound.
Okay.
That's what we're aiming for. And
So
this
we
is a
can
good
get
example
a
because
telephone
this
book
is pretty
if we
close.
get enough backers.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
We can go as wide as you want. You're not going to have that crazy fold in the center to have to worry about. It's all going to be stitched and square bound. So it's going to be a great book. Oh, let's see. I got lots to show. So actually, we still have a lot of chat to go through too. He just eBayed one. Congrats on hitting 100%. Yes, thanks. Jake Sugar says, I was worried where Randy was going there for a second. Oh, I don't know where that was.
That could have been anything.
Tardy, oops, that could have been anything. Yep. Morning, Pops. Cameron says, good morning. Good morning, Cameron. Jake says, waves hello. And Pop says, I want to be there. Wherever there is.
Well, you're here.
He wants to be in the book is what it is. Because Pops.
That 200, yeah, backer two. Yeah, we get
Pops'
200
stretch
backers.
goal is 200 backers. We get 200 backers, and Pops gets a short story in the book.
Yeah.
So there you go. It says, I already have a co-writer and an artist lineup. Awesome.
There you go.
Awesome. And if it doesn't make the book, I'm sure you're going to find a place to put that story anyway. So it's all good.
So here's the thing. So a lot of the formats that we're talking about is comics that are already printed in an original format and then being like shrunk down or enlarged or into all these different formats. Mm-hmm. Now, the thing is, like, how common, I mean, because it's funny is that right now I'm kind of going through an experimental phase with art formatting myself. So like, I'm kind of like playing around with drawing at a smaller size, still in proportion. But what's funny is coming across certain roadblocks. I don't know if they're roadblocks. Like how many comics were actually made specifically for very like unusual sizes as opposed to just being forced down?
Well, once they settled on a size, they went and cooked through it. There was a number, for example, there's a number of Mad books done in that paperback book size that I was showing earlier in this size that were done specifically for this format.
Oh, okay.
Like Don Martin, especially, who could kick out comics really quick, did quite a number of joke books that were intentionally done for that particular size. Captain Klutz comes to mind. He had a superhero character that was a bumbling idiot called Captain Klutz. He did quite a few stories like that. And of course, you were lucky to you would get one illustration, maybe two illustrations on a page because of the size. And you'd just be able to pour right through the book, but it was really funny and a lot of fun to read. I don't have my Captain Klutz book here handy. But
yeah, so Russ, because you work digitally, do you find, I mean, it's like, do you work in a standard size, or because you're able to be more flexible digitally? I mean, do you work larger? Do you work smaller?
No, I try to. Right. Okay. As far as the dimensions are concerned, I go with what it sells. So because of that, I've gone to a standard 170 by 260 millimeters. So it's a standard comic book size. I work for other clients in the UK. I've worked at the A4 size, which is like 8 3/4 by 11 and something. It's again standard magazine size over in the UK. I work.
It's a square book, size.
Square
There.
size, yeah.
which they also have collected for collections over
That's a
there,
nice
like the
book.
Strontium dog. That's Carlos Esquera again, just amazes me.
Fantastic artist.
I can't sit there without just drooling over his stuff. And again, when I found his style back in the 70s, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. You know, he's different looking. That's awesome. But now it's like, oh, that's Carlos Esquera.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Holy
You
crap.
have a moment, definitely, when you appreciate just how good he is.
If
But
you
yeah,
sit-
we
You sit
have
there
those
and you
two
wrap your head
sizes.
around Mobius, and once you've done that, you start looking at everybody
True.
with
That's
the same. You know, what a way to show texture. What a way to show not just texture but body to it. You know, there's a hard dimension to Carlos's work that just amazes the heck out of me, and it's all from line weight. From he had a tendency to do dashes for shade work, very much like Virgil Finlay or Frank Bellamy would use stipple effects in order to get different shading techniques. Just amazing to sit and look
so
at.
much work in everything he did.
Yeah.
But so I work on two sizes, but I tend to work 1.5 times up.
Okay.
So it's be standard on a piece of I don't know what it is in the US. Over here it's A3. So
around like 11 by 17.
Yeah, that's right, 11 by 17.
Yeah.
So it's about 1.5 times the size. But with digital, it's like it's okay when you're working on a broad scale. It's okay, but then things like faces, you have to kind of get in because otherwise the pen just can't get the detail. So you have to zoom in a bit in order to help you with that. That when you're doing that traditionally out in the real world, you kind of automatically do it with your eyes. You kind of lean in and use your eyes, and you do the same thing as zooming in. But the downside of zooming in on digital is that you end up putting too much in, and obviously you're not going to print that out. It doesn't get printed out, so you have that danger constantly. I try very hard to stay up at the right size, so I have my screen set up so it's effectively like laying a piece of paper on it. But you have to zoom in. So now I'm moving on to digital. I'm moving on to traditional inking. So what I'm doing is I'm penciling digitally with broad pencils at a higher resolution, but at the same physical size that you would see. Then printing those out as blue lines and then brushing over the top of them, and that way I get the control that I want. But at the same time, I get that real sensation, that real feel that you get from the artwork that I love. So, so that first book, I think the second Only Death Can Save Us book will be a mix of digital and traditional, even more than the first book. And probably by the time I get to the third book, you're probably going to see it 100% inked by brush.
Huh? So it's like you kind of like go in the opposite direction of what a lot of artists do, where they go 100% digital, and you're just moving back into the real world.
Definitely. I came at the whole process of digital as I want to do this, and I don't want people to look at what I do and go, "Oh, that's digital."
Right.
I wanted people to think that my work was real, you know. And I do get a bit of that, but I when I look at the detail of my work, I can see that some of the lines are too smooth. It's an odd thing to say, but I don't want that mechanical look to my work, and so I went the other way, as in I wasn't that confident with inking traditionally, and because I was behind the curve, as it were, I came to the party late, whereas people my age had already been doing it in the industry for 20 years. So I didn't get that. I had to like hit the ground running. So the digital inking was a great way of doing that. So I learned my style. I learned the way that I wanted to draw, found myself, found the techniques that I needed for that. And now I'm transferring those out into the real world. And hitting myself with a massive bat while I'm doing it, because what you can't do is you can't have the smooth line that you have when it's digital, and that's the whole point.
Yeah,
that really is the whole point. So I'm now doing that to myself, which is slowly driving me mad. But it's very rewarding. So
I was going to say, you mean mad in a good way, though.
oh yeah, in a good way.
That's all part of the fun of being an artist, is being able to play with technique and style
Right,
and
yeah.
tool, and
Well,
in order
well,
to get down to what works for you and to get the effect that you want each individual work to have.
I scratched an itch with Only Death Can Save Us Volume 1, with the way that when it came out. But the itch has got more intense. And,
It's like poison ivy.
Yeah. The itch has got more intense.
That's Only Death Can Save Us, folks.
That's
I
right.
believe that's
Yeah.
still on demand on
It still is
Indiegogo
on
as well.
demand. You can pick it up. Yeah.
Only Death Can Save Us.
And so that I need to do something else now. I need to move on. So I'd kind of got to a point where I got satisfied, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing it. And then it suddenly occurred to me, no, stop it, Russ. Start beating your head against a wall again, and start challenging yourself. So I'm now challenging myself in the real world. I want physical art, and I want to be able to draw a sort of a percentage of the standard of the people that I am inspired by. That's the idea. That's the ideal. Okay, if I can just get a small percentage of the people that I idolize, then I've done my job. That's the bottom line.
Amen to that. Yeah. Yeah, nothing's better than to sit there and after you've drawn something, sit back from it and go, oh, that really looks like Steve Ditko.
Right. Yeah.
That's cool.
I might have got something right on that page. Good Lord.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's
Like,
that's the high. That's kind of like all the different little highs that we chase.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I need my next hit.
So the next book will be a combination, and this literally comes down to time, because I'm going to have to motor on the next book, because there's extra content for the reprints that are going out via Arrow. And then that extra content will be filtered back into the second book, so that my crowdfunding backers get an absolutely quality premium product. But at the same time, it's great to have it go out to a much larger audience. And so the second book is going to have to be done double quick time. So I will be getting a colorist on this book, whereas I didn't last time. And probably just a flatter, and I'll put in the highlights myself. But it'll get the volume of the work out of the way, and should save me several weeks of work.
Right. Yeah. I'm coloring myself right now. It's like I haven't gotten to the point where I can get a flatter, but it was just like, it's like, oh yeah, definitely first chance I get.
I'm definitely doing that this time.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I've got 2 artists that I've approached. One of them's already said yes.
Oh, there you go.
Who are going to do me a couple of rather beautiful prints for the second book. And then before we go anywhere, obviously I've got to come up with 3 new covers as well for the reprints of the first book. So
Daphne, were you the one that told me about Colors with Kevin?
Now
there's a YouTube channel out there called Colors with Kevin.
It's funny.
Colors,
I was
Colors
just,
by Kevin.
I think I was just
amazing.
watching those videos yesterday too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I mentioned it, but yeah.
Yeah, I've got him bookmarked. I'm going to start watching a lot of his stuff when I get some time, because I want to. There's a book coming up that I really want to color one particular way, and I'm going to figure out how that gets done. It's kind of funny how it's like, I guess we're all on the same mindset right now. Yeah.
Grant in the chat just said getting a flatter is the best money I ever spent.
Right.
Definitely, because my book especially is because it's quite retro. It literally is just the highlights over the top of the flats. So I get the volume, quite the most part of the colors done by a flatter.
Because that's the funny thing, because I have like kind of like 3 layers: the flats, the shadows, and then the highlights. And what's funny is that I'm finding that doing the shadows and the highlights are the easiest part.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like even though that's what puts in the detail in the piece, because once I get to the flats, it's like it's tedious.
It
You're
can
more
be.
likely to,
Yeah.
more likely to walk away from the board or the
Yeah.
screen if you're doing flats. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's kind of like, oh, that's hard work.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely right. It's definitely worth the $10 a page.
Uh-huh.
I will say $10 a page.
That
Not-
sounds
not-
average.
I think
Yeah.
$10 a page is a reasonable amount.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think that's where I'll be going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Empyrean says that was the giant Whammo comic.
Whammo.
The condition was described as 6.5. So
Okay.
Empyrean, I don't think you're going to find that in good shape.
Oh,
I think
Yeah.
6.5 is probably as good as you're ever going to find it when you're lucky enough to find it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause I mean-
I'll be real interested to know how they ship that to you. Let's hope they don't fold it.
Oh, for $80, I hope they don't fold it.
I hope so too.
Anything with whammo in the title is a must
Yeah,
buy.
really.
Well, that was a big company when I was a kid. Did a lot of
Yeah,
toys.
yeah,
A lot
yeah.
of toys. Whammo.
Remember those commercials?
Yeah, Frisbee. It's Whammo. Yeah, exactly. I want to be there. I want to be there. Oh, he's talking.
Oh
about
yeah,
the book
in the book, it's a 200
Comic Talk.
backers.
Yeah, we want you there too, Pops. Believe me, nothing would make us happier than to have to print a heck of a lot of that book. I have a large car, and the printer is only 40 minutes away from my house, so
There you go.
I'm looking forward to that trip. I am. So I'm very excited for that. Me too. Me too, Pop. Good morning. Good morning, Grant. How you doing?
Good morning.
Jake says, speaking of someone diverse into comic formats, Daniel Klaus. Yeah, very much so. Has been printing on various types. Absolutely. Driving Gary Groth crazy for years. You want that printed how big? Holy crap.
It's like, oh god damn it, but okay, fine.
Yeah. I ran across
he
the puzzle book.
complains, but he
Yeah.
does it. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, yeah, that's
Great-
probably
great stuff.
that's probably the only place nowadays that you're seeing that type of experimentation is in the indie. In the indie
Very much
section.
so. Yeah, with people like Daniel Kraus. Yeah, and Chip. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's been doing
Chip
Huh?
shot.
Chip shots.
Chip
Sorry.
Shot. No, not Chip Shot. I ran across
Shot.
this puzzle book the other day at the local
Right. Yeah. The you
Local-
find them at the
local store.
supermarkets, at the
Look at-
checkout. Yeah.
all newsprint. There's a
Yeah.
ton of pages here. It's 162 pages plus a cover. Look at that, $2.95 penny
Yeah.
press. They do all sorts of different size books and stuff. I took this to my web press guy, and he looked at it and was looking it all over. I don't know where the hell he got this done.
Really?
You couldn't
I
do
would have
this now.
thought that.
Because one thing I have always wanted to do is a Big Little book.
Oh, I love those. Yeah.
I love Big Little books. Absolutely love
Yeah.
them. They're have you ever seen one, Russ? You ever seen a Big Little book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
but
pros-
only from afar. I've not had one.
I'm not going to open this one up because more than likely it's still got
I
the
remember
spine on
the
it.
paperback ones, and it had like the little animated thing in the corner, so you would flip
Oh.
it, and then you would have like the little
Oh,
That's
guy
a
running.
whole different type of flip book.
yeah.
Where you'd see a little character go running across if you turn. But they had to
Yeah.
do that in paperback form in
Yeah.
order for you to do that, in order for it to bend it.
So yeah,
Oh.
so it's like you had the comic, and then you had the little animated guy at the bottom. It was
Originally, they
Really?
came out nice and thick, and the reason they settled on this size is because the comic strips used to be 4 panels long,
nah.
and each panel, each book in here, and again, I don't want to open this up very far.
which is
You
that should be
see,
in a
there's-
museum.
each picture is pretty close to a panel from a comic strip. Actually, this book, I almost bought years ago for $130 because that's how valuable the Flash Gordons are, especially the Raymond Flash especially the Raymond Flash Gordons. But this is an instance or an example of collectibles that are only as collectible as the people who want to collect them.
That's true.
Because 20, 30 years ago, this would have been $120, $130 book, especially with the spine on it, because the way these are printed, if you look really close, you can see,
it's
again,
all
that's all
separated, yeah.
bounded together in sections. The spine on these are so fragile that they would pop right off. And at the time, back in the 30s, this was 10 cents. So the kids would buy them like crazy, sit there and read the story and tuck them in their back pocket. And most of the time, the prose work inside the book were just a description of the comic strip that they had already taken and spliced up and stuck together every odd page. Every even page they filled with a description of prose trying to describe what was going on in the story, and they would knock the lettering out and print it without the bubbles. So you see, you'll have panels that have a lot of open space where the word balloon or whatever would have originally gone. But some of the Big Little books actually took the comic strips and just pasted them right in. So it's a comic strip book that's that size. That's pretty cool. I got a Smoky Stover that's like that. But like I said, the Flash Gordons are really rare. I ended up buying this for $20 a couple of years ago. And the reason for that is the collectability on Big Little books have literally dropped through the floor because a lot of the guys that were reading it, or guys or girls or fans of this format, have all passed.
Wow.
And the more that they pass, the more the less value this type of format has. So now an average price for a Big Little book, $6-8, where you dig up, and there was at one point, I said stretching. They used to do guidebooks on these books and everything that had like a overstreet price layout where they were showing you what the books look like and how to look for them and different grading and all that. Nowadays, nobody collects them.
Wow.
Yeah. I got a call a couple of years ago from a big retailer here in Michigan that said, I got a big collection of Big Little books. I can't move them. Do you want to come down and take a look at them? And I said, sure. I'll come down. And look at it. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I ended up walking out with a big box of books that, a couple $100, but they were $8, $6 a piece, and got a lot of great stuff. Great stuff for me. But when I pass,
right. How much of that is,
And again, a lot of this was done for the same reason that comics were first done, because they needed to keep their presses wet. The big, incredibly large web presses, they needed to keep them wet. All of the Big Little books during the 30s and 40s were all done in black and white, with black and white interiors, just one color, just to keep that black ink rolling through them presses. So there's all sorts of different Big Little book formats out there. There's big books, little big books. The publishers back then played with any play on words in order to get this kind of book out there. And it was really cheap at the time to put a cardboard type cover on it, basically pulp wood. Great. Somebody actually spent a little time painting that bag. I'm sure that was used for something else other than that. But just off of Alex Raymond's Flash Gordon, because Flash Gordon was big at the time. And that's all that they would do. They would take them comic strips and split them up into books and put them out on the shelf for $10 just to see if they'd sell. That's the same basic idea of how the comic book was started, was they needed something to keep the presses running. Everybody at the time were reading these newspaper strips. The comic strips were getting the biggest reaction, the most letters, especially from the kids who were desperately looking for entertainment and picking up those newspapers every day. So they said, let's take a bunch of them strips and put them together and see if we can sell them as a book, and stuck them out on the stands for a dime. So that's how comics started.
It's just an example of because you were talking about, Daphne, the amount of different sizes there were.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you had the standard comic book size. See if I can pick one out quickly. So you'd have a standard comic book size there.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
All right, that's standard.
Uh-huh.
And then you'd have the A4 that I was talking about, which is a standard letter size, which is a magazine size.
That's magazine size, yeah.
Yeah, and then you can see the side there. You've got this square, and this is the 2000 AD.
Hold that
size.
up a little higher on the camera so folks can see.
So that's the 2000 AD size, and you can see that it's squarer than this size. And that's a Marvel reprint.
Yeah.
So you can see the big borders at the side of the page where they've reprinted from a different size. So you had Marvel UK reprinting US Marvel strips in the size of 2000 AD.
That's because
that was the size people liked at the time.
That was a really accessible size for them. Plus, originally, when the 2000s were first coming out for years, they were just all newsprint. They looked like the equivalent for us of what a National Enquirer would look like.
Yeah.
It just set on the newsstand for you to just walk up and grab for 10 pence or whatever.
Wow.
And probably had the same quality of
Every
news.
week. Yeah. But then we had exactly the opposite problem with that work when they, like Cell Q Productions, tried to reprint a bunch of the 2080s over here. They would literally take the artwork and stretch it
Oh,
Wow.
what?
in order to fill the page. Yeah, I'm not lying.
No, I mean, well, like I said, there was that other company that was rearranging panels, and it's like, no,
Well, instead of
and-
rearranging panels, they just stuck it in the computer. And
that's ridiculous.
That's
Oh, it was
far
sad.
worse than rearranging panels.
that
is far
yes,
worse.
that is a lot worse. That
and
is
then
a
the
lot worse.
coloring technique was really similar to that Punisher book too. It was very garish, very inexpensively just slopped on, and the majority of the 2000 material was in black and white anyway. For the 2000 ADs were black and whites for years.
I love that stuff.
It's amazing. Yeah. And again, why Rebellion hasn't sat down and done, and I'm sure it's probably a rights problem more than anything, why they haven't sat down and done archives of 2000 AD in this format instead of just one character at a time really throws me, because I would buy that in a heartbeat just to have it. Especially if they had the covers in color, and the middle, it was the cover, the outside cover was in color, and then the two-page spread in the middle was in color.
This brilliant stuff. Just
Inexpensively printed, just stuck out there to spark people's imaginations and show off.
Oh, why do that?
And, and the characters that they did, the properties that they have over here in the States, so few people realize the level of imagination and just craziness that those 2000s had back in those days. All they know is Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
And all they've seen is a bad Stallone movie and a kind of good recent movie taken off after the Japanese movie Raid.
Right. Yeah. The Raid.
exactly.
Yeah.
And they haven't really seen Judge Dredd. All they have is an idea of the character.
Right. And the thing is, though, because I remember reading like those old, because JD had gotten one of those collections, and I was like reading, reading Judge Dredd. And it's just like like that character is bonkers.
Yes.
That book is just like it's kind of, it's like, because everyone tries to play it seriously, and I was just surprised that it's like, this is almost like a borderline dark comedy.
It is. That's exactly what it is. That was underground British humor. That was what was going on there. That was anti-Thatcher.
Yeah.
But so you had this
It was a heck of a social statement.
social statement. But you were cheering on this Nazi cop. Okay, because he was taking out the trash. So you wanted him to be Clint Eastwood, but at the same time, he was a fascist.
Right,
okay, in a fascist state.
Right, and this is the thing too that we want to clarify. This is exactly how the artist, the person who created it, the artist, that's how he described the artist was Spanish.
Oh yeah, they didn't hide that.
He was, he lived under Francoist Spain. So when he says something is fascist, he
means it. Yeah. Yeah, none of this lightweight. You're a fascist.
Yeah.
No, this is
right.
serious
Yeah, exactly.
fascism.
This is a real definition that we're
and it struck a chord because it was just so bonkers. It was just so mad, and the book was, 2000 AD was completely crazy, and everybody loved it.
Judge Dredd was literally 1/5 of the stuff that in each issue. Judge Dredd caught on really fast because of what it was, but there was so many other strips through there that was just as imaginative.
You used to have like a Tharg's Future Shocks, which was kind of like the Twilight Zone, and then on top of that, the early ones.
You try to explain Robo Hunters to somebody, and they just go, "What? What?"
Robo Hunter, and then they had.
The story of a Han Solo guy on a world of robots, and his companion is a cigar chomping kid with a machine gun. Baby.
It was a baby.
Baby.
It was
In
a
a diaper,
baby.
yeah.
It'd been removed down to a baby. So
It's like, look, it was
diaper.
Europe, okay?
He had a diaper, a big cigar, and a massive gun. It was hilarious.
Incredible.
Just things like ABC Warriors were superb.
And
Slain the God.
Yeah.
What was the other one? The Kevin
Nemesis
O'Neill
the
stuff.
Destroyer.
Nemesis.
Yeah,
Nemesis was just brilliant. Be good. Or was it behave?
Oh,
Be pure.
behave.
Behave.
Yep.
Be good, or
good.
whatever it is. Just brilliant.
The
Brilliant
main
stuff.
villain was Torquemada.
Yeah. But the humans were the bad guys.
Mhm.
That was all the aliens were the good guys, and the humans were just this. They were effectively the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah.
Though nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition, and so they were basically the Spanish Inquisition, but humans, and they were going after all the aliens who were obviously witches and horrible things like that, devils, and it was utterly brilliant. I loved it as a kid. Absolutely loved it.
Anybody out there, these volumes are available on Amazon. If you look fast enough, you get an entire, probably 500 pages at least. Yeah. Of Carlos Esquera art, mostly Carlos. Sometimes you'll get a different artist coming in for a story or a annual story, but it's just the prettiest stuff that you've ever seen. The
Rogue
Judge
Trooper as well. Rogue Trooper was a great opinion on war. It was just brilliant.
Again, a property, if they ever do in a movie, people will go, where did that character come from?
Yeah.
Holy crap. Yeah. You don't have a genetically engineered trooper who has a sentient helmet, a backpack, and a gun, talking to him as they go through and realize that war is totally useless.
So basically, they've cloned Pete. They're all clones, okay, and they all have these chips which keep their consciousness in, so that when his mates get killed, he puts them in, one in his helmet, one in his gun, one in his backpack, and it becomes this thing. But it's completely a commentary on war. It's brilliant.
Yeah, they realize exactly how useless the war is that they're fighting, and then he goes rogue. That's a rogue trooper.
Superb. It's just brilliant. And the art in there as well.
Yeah.
Is that Steve Dillon?
That started out as Dave Gibbons.
Dave Gibbons, that's it.
Did a lot of that material. I think Steve Dillon did do a lot of it later. I think Simon Bisley even came in and did a little bit here and there later on, much later on.
Yeah. Simon Bisley did a bit of everything, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He has. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's how he stays challenged as an artist too. It's like, you want me to draw what? Oh, okay. I haven't done that before. I'll do it. Yeah.
That's always a thing to do. It's like always making sure we're being challenged.
Good morning.
So that we don't stagnate as artists.
Daniel Klaus again. Yep. Oh, I had just jumped my chat here. Smash and like and save. Yes. Smash, like, share. For 10 to 15 page, it cuts my coloring time in half.
Yeah, that's usually what the going rate on flatting is.
Check the mail stench. Comic Talk pops straight to the kebab shop. I go. There we go. Yep. Something is worth that last person paid for it. Yeah. It's only worth what that last person paid for it. I had a guy who would be up here. He had a series of stores called Jelly Beans, and I had a really good talk with him one time about collectability. Because he would take vinyl records in, he would take paperbacks in, he'd take in CDs and DVDs in, and literally pay a nickel for them and sell them for $1, And we got to talking about collectability. That's when he really made me realize the wave. It's a collectability wave. And you have to stay on top of that wave as it moves along, and it gets older, and the stuff that's really valuable is newer all the time. And he goes, and I said, well, you've got all of this stuff here. You collect. He goes, quarters of it's garbage. I'm never going to move it. Who out there wants to buy a vinyl record of Andy Williams?
I just passed one yesterday at a thrift shop.
Collectability is all about nostalgia.
He goes,
you only have nostalgia if you're alive to remember it.
That's
he goes,
true,
you know what the most valuable book I ever moved out of my shop on? It was an eBay sale. So I put it up for offer on eBay. Says, you'd never guess what it was. The most valuable book I've ever sold out of this shop. It was an eBay book, or it was an eBay sale because it got into a bidding war.
Huh?
And it was an old book, dusty old hand or with line illustrations inside, mostly very few photographs. It was a book on Roman toilets.
Huh?
And
So there you go.
And it got into an eBay war because at the time HBO was doing Rome and somebody else was doing a Roman series or story or something, and it got into a hardcore bidding war and it went to the highest bidder. But it was all about Roman sanitation and toilets.
So there you go. So every one of you noodles who keep complaining about fantasy art not being realistic enough because you don't know how the toilets work, there's a book for you.
What have the Romans ever given us, eh?
And if you ever do any research on it, it's pretty unique. But anyway, that's a whole nother story we don't need to get into. But the point is the collectability is only the value of a book. It's only there for as much as somebody's willing to pay for it.
Yeah,
that's the whole point.
Yeah.
So that's why we need to keep doing comics.
Yeah.
That and entertaining folks. That's what's important.
That's the most important part, really.
Something is it's only worth what the last person paid for it and what the next person will. That's very true. That's it exactly. I'm waiting for the bottom to fall out under the Elvis market. It's coming.
Wow.
It's coming, pops. It's coming real fast. I have a Blue Moon, I think it's a Blue Hawaii, a vinyl disc there I'm sitting on, and a few other pieces. But it's never going to get any more valuable because folks that remember Elvis are slowly passing away.
Well, when was the last time you even, it's like, what's funny was that I forgot what I was waiting for, and I was listening to the music. It was, and then like a U2 song from the 80s came on. And then for some reason at that exact moment, I go, when this song was new and I was sitting anywhere else listening, the old song on the radio would be Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
So now I'm sitting here going, oh, the old song is now U2.
That's why you stop listening to oldies stations. Believe me, it just makes you feel old. That's not an oldie. No.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like U2, like this was the equivalent of the oldie station I was listening to. And they were playing
call good
U2.
music. That's not an oldie station. That's a good music station. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just like, oh no, the math.
Randy hears a chance to fill his basement. He zooms off. I'm afraid.
Exactly.
Jake, that's the way it works. The basement is part archive, part museum, part mausoleum, and part autopsy room.
Exactly.
No,
exactly.
Really, Jake, it's all mess.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's all mess. So Rival says, ooh, stretching. Yep.
Yeah, no, really. I'm offended at the thought.
Russ Chubbs should be doing Strontium Dog, would fit him. Yeah.
Yeah, he would be good at any of those products.
I like the second
stories.
Judge Dredd movie.
Yeah,
Second Judge Dredd movie so far is the closest they've ever gotten to the character. But the entire plot, if you ever sit and watch the Japanese movie
it's
Raid,
exactly the Raid,
and you just go, oh, dudes, you were doing Judge Dredd. Come on.
Yeah.
Though you don't,
Well, the only reason, and mind you, the only reason the movie ended up the way it did was because I forgot the name of the main actor. Like, he's a huge Judge Dredd fan, and there were very specific things that he was willing to do and not do, saying no,
the helmet off.
That's not character, that's not character, that's not character. So even he was like pushing, he's like, no, we're making a Dredd movie, and this is how Dredd is.
Right. So true. Yeah. And that's why, again, that collectability wave is why you're not seeing a whole lot of pulp magazine heroes running out in movies. Where's my Doc Savage movie? I would love to see a proper one done before I pass, or a really good Shadow movie, because that Alec Baldwin one was close, but no cigar. A Spider movie would be amazing.
The Phantom.
The Phantom movie, nice little adventure film, but not. It's almost the Phantom. Almost. Rocketeer. That movie is the same way, and the older you get, the more you appreciate it. But
well, that's a lot of this, really. I mean, because it's like a lot of the books that we talk about, like, and a lot of the artists, it's like that's something that I didn't get like a real appreciation for until I was much older.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing about it. It's like, so all the kids poo-pooing everything now. It's like, yeah, wait until you're in your 40s. You'll get it. You'll finally get it. Yeah.
Judge Dredd is like the comic book version of Doctor Who. Every British actor has been on Doctor Who. Every British artist has done Judge Dredd.
I haven't done it yet.
Well, I know Guy Davis and Vince Locke have both done Judge Dredd stories for 2000.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but
all the good ones.
invitation only. You know?
Yeah.
It's like they call you.
Definitely.
Well, yeah.
It's true what they say. Coin doesn't stink, especially if it's nostalgic. Yeah.
Well, it's that old paper smell.
Yeah. Have a bunch of Elvis 78s. There you go, Pops. Awesome. The Aqueducts. Now you have to find a 78 player. That's the next job. But the old antique vinyl players are becoming just more and more valuable as folks realize what they can do.
Thank you, Carl Urban. Yeah. Thank you.
MS3OZ said, best of luck dealing with your new distributor and comic shops. Yes, thank you.
We'll try.
We're looking forward to it. M3SOZ. It's going to be a challenge. Liberty is climbing all the time and finding new retailers every day. So, or every day that Variant's awake.
Well,
anyway, that we're hoping that by August that there will be a good enough response out there that we won't have to worry about moving product, especially with the way the amount of retailers have been signing into Liberty. It's looking really good.
That's good.
Yeah, I got to remember dropping a Fat Shadow reference for Detective Ted. Yeah. Hashtag invite Russ to do Judge Dredd. There we go. Only Russ can save Dredd.
I think Dredd needs saving.
Yeah, well,
Mom keeps sending me stuff. Soon she will be sending me stuff I sent her ages ago. Yeah. Hey, we want to thank everybody for listening today. It's been a fun episode of Sunday Funnies. I hope you learned a little something. Hope you were entertained. Got to see some stuff that maybe you hadn't seen before. I know somebody out there in eBay land is happy now that they've sold their Whammo giant comic book that they've probably had sitting up there for years. Oh, somebody finally wants it. Bing.
It's like, I wonder where that came from.
Awesome. Just out of the blue. No, I think Cartoon Kayfabe has also done a video on that giant comic book at one point or another, but who can say? Anyway, deeply want to thank everybody for being in the chat. Thank everybody who's listening out there. Russ, tell people how they can find you.
You can find me on YouTube as Comic Book Black Belt, where you find out more about my process, especially about the book Only Death Can Save Us, but also some Doctor Who, Ben 10 and some Marvel stuff on there. You can find me at russleach.com or comicbookblackbelt.com. Find me in various social media haunts around the interwebs. And you can also find out more about my book, Only Death Can Save Us, on onlydeathcansaveus.com, where you can pick up a copy of the book over at Indiegogo, where the campaign is still in demand, but not for too much longer.
Oh, we didn't even get to talk about like mini comics. Small mini comics, even old ash can books that used to be at the shows all the time.
Yeah, I have. I saw some dude on eBay trying to sell one of my old ash cans for $500.
Wow, get in.
I'd write him and say,
have one or two.
Yeah, I'd write him and say, if you get that price for it, let me know, because I got one or two more you can sell. I'll give you commission.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I'll let you take 50%. I remember, folks, that comics are always out there. The creative people, especially us creative ones, need to get out there more and figure out the different ways that comics should be out there in front of the masses. Putting them out in front of the masses reminds them that words and pictures can be very entertaining and can do a lot of work. And of course, don't forget that Chick Comics,
the king of them all.
The Chick Comics format will come back sooner or later, and it won't be a religious tract.
Wow!
What a great format. Find these at truck stops. It's of course a lot
of
it's horrible.
This was a guy who understood the power of comics.
The power of comics, folks. And there's more than that too.
Swear to God.
Literally and figuratively. I'm sorry, I don't prescribe to the the doctrine that they talk about, but it is.
But he understood the format. He understood, the availability of it, the importance of it being easy to get.
Everywhere.
I mean, this was a guy who got it.
It still does. They're still out there. I still find them at truck stops. I take them whenever I find them. So.
Right. Yeah.
But also, here's another format. This is the size of a trading card. This was in the trading card packs, and it was just jammed in there, and it's got comics in it, and it's been formatted. Let me find an actual comic page here. It's been formatted. And again, that's about the size of a trading card.
I mean,
For
does
Mars Attacks?
Bazooka Joe still exist? Like,
No.
do you still get a comic with so?
Unfortunately not, but they did. They used to. I was going to pull up a picture of one just because nobody knows who Bazooka
I mean,
Joe
it's like,
is anymore.
imagine, it's like that
Yeah.
comics were so ubiquitous at the time. Just opening up a piece of gum gave you a comic.
Yeah, gave you a comic strip. Well, that's how big comic strips used to be, you know. What are we going to wrap the gum in? Let's wrap it in a comic strip. Oh, okay.
You know? I mean, really?
It's like a Chinese fortune cookie.
Yeah, exactly.
Only it was comics.
Yeah.
It was all good. Daphne, tell folks where they can find you.
You can find me at my main website, egoworks.com, EGOWORKS, where you can find all my social media and you can sign up for my upcoming Kickstarter for Tall Tales Thieves Quest Volume 1, which will be going live on March 29th, which is like 7 days. I don't know. It's about like a little bit more than a week away, so you can collect it collects the first 5 issues of Tall Tales from the very beginning. So if you've been waiting all this time to hop on the train and know what I'm talking about every time I point to my background, this is where you do it. So go to egoworks.com and talltalesonline.com, TAILS, and sign up for that Kickstarter coming up. Thank you.
Garrett says his favorite comic is Bazooka Joe.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, somebody's going to collect all of them and put
Yeah.
them in a book. I know they will. It's only a matter of time. Then you'll sit there and you go, people like reading this stuff?
Right.
Holy
Well,
crap.
it was this big.
Yeah, it
There's only so
was.
much you can do.
Mostly dad humor too, by the way. Really
Wow,
bad.
dad humor's hot right now.
Bad pins, yeah. Well, that's because it's safe humor.
Outstanding. I'm
Yeah.
back in.
There you go.
Garrett's laughing. Yeah. Who was it? Rival Turtle says he's looking forward to the book. Excited for the indie book. We are too. Indie Volt Revolt.
There you
Still
go.
available on Indiegogo. 55 days to go. We are at 1,350 with 34 backers. Thank you so much, everybody. We got it past our initial goal. We're 108% funded. It's not like we weren't going to print the book. We were, but even if we didn't make that mark, but we deeply appreciate everybody who's backing this project. It's very near and dear to us. It's going to be a fun, unique format, just like what we were talking about today, a flip book where you read in going in one direction about halfway, and then once you realize everything's upside down, you turn it over, turn it around, there's another front cover to go in again. At least another 60 pages at this point. Hopefully it'll be a lot more, depending. Every 50 backers adds more pages to this book, and we're not afraid to make this the size of a phone book if we have to. We'll find the great stories. We're still being picky about what stories go in there and who contributes to the book, even though we're letting Pops in at number 200 at the 200. So no, it'll be a great story. I'm sure it'll be a killer story. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. I have been your host, Randy Zimmerman. You can find me on Randy Zimmerman at Facebook. And I deeply appreciate everybody who's been friending me the last few months. I've been getting artists literally from all over the world, and it's so unique and fun to see everybody's work and stuff. I take a few minutes, everybody that has a friend request, going through their timeline to make sure they're not spam or some stray, who knows what, looking for money. It's just amazing to see the quality of work out there. And I know that you're out there listening to Indie Volt Radio, and we deeply appreciate you very much for being there and for doing that. Please tell your friends. I know a lot of us listen as a diversion from their work, and we love you for it. We really do. Don't be afraid to drop us a line, IndieVolt live at indievolt.com. We'd love to hear from you. Any comments or suggestions for future shows, especially feel free to send that in, especially for Sunday Funnies, because most of the times it's a seat of your pants type show, because working through the week and all of a sudden it gets to be Friday and I forget to do it, and Saturday and something comes up, and then here it is Sunday and I'm taking 15 minutes and running through my basement and going, yeah, that people want to see a Big Little Book. Sure.
I want to see a Big Little Book.
We'll do an on format book. You've never seen a Big Little Book?
I'm sure I have. Yeah.
There was another
familiar.
set of them that come out in the 70s, I believe. They actually did a Fantastic Four one. There's a Space Ghost one. There's a Frankenstein Jr.
Yeah, like I said, those are the
Ghost.
types of books that I would
Yeah.
like constantly see at like Scholastic book fairs.
Shazam.
And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, this is 68. Sorry. The last hardbacks they did were in the later 60s. And then through the 70s, they got cheap and added the flip book thing
Right.
and went paperback and same material, only without the color on them. Same
Right.
story, only with a little flip picture on most of them down in the lower corner.
I love those.
Bugs Bunny and that.
Yeah, exactly.
Nowadays, I was going to say there's only, according to my press guy who's been doing it for decades, there's only one or two presses here in the States that would even be able to
Wow.
handle this
That's
format.
funny.
And it would end up being expensive. So when you run across any of these books, you see this back in the 60s was 39 cents, where I've seen books this size. They did one of Xena and Hercules back when they were out. That was 10, 15, 20 bucks. So, but that's what they have to charge now because it's
Right.
expensive to print.
That's funny.
All right, everybody. We wish you nothing but the best. Happy health. And thanks again so much for listening. We've hit that mark that it's time to go. And deeply appreciate you being here.
The end is near.
There you go. Indie Volt will be back Monday nights. We do a show called It Came from Webtoons, done by Eric Hodson, where he talks about digital comics. On Tuesday night is our usual Indie Volt Live Wire podcast that we've been doing now for over 2 years. And it's a lot of fun. We usually have a lot of guest artists on talking about their campaigns or the books that they're working on. Thursday morning, we're here for the breakfast buzz just to catch the crowd that doesn't want to stay up that late or that 9 p.m. on Tuesdays is their 3 a.m. in the morning. So we do a breakfast buzz at 9 a.m. on Thursdays just to do the same thing as pretty much the same thing as we do on the live wire. Gets to be a little goofier and funnier because we're not awake yet and we're still drinking our coffee. Very, very much like Sunday Funnies, the Sunday Funnies program here on Sunday at 9 a.m. That's geared more for the lighter and more whimsical side, as you can tell by the comics on our backdrop here. We really want to show you the many different aspects of comics and the fun part of comics. And part of that fun for me has always been different oddball formats and just crazy ways that you can get sequential art out there to the masses. And I deeply encourage you to look into that and to don't be afraid to go and visit your printer, your local printer sometime, and see if there's a cheap format that he can do real easy off of the presses that he has. It might not fit that comic bag or board that you can tell an awesome story in, because that'll help you stand out, not just help you stand out, but it'll make you a little more unique in look and feel, and to show folks comics don't have to always fit in that bag and board. Comics are everywhere, can be anywhere, should be everywhere. And it's a great form of entertainment for everyone. He said, stalling as he's looking for the stuff that he needs in order to close out the show. All right, everybody, take care. We're going to go out the same way we came in. We wish you nothing but the best. Thanks again for everybody in the chat. There's a couple people up there that we didn't read comments from, but that's okay. Take care. Any last words, anybody?
Buy independent comics, especially ours.
Yeah, buy my comic.
Only Death Can Save Us is still on demand for a short time on Indiegogo. You need to cash that in. It's a great product. You know, you might have to leave it outside for a couple days, but
Yeah. So I think there's some drugs actually in the paper. I think.
Oh,
that's the way
no,
it does
no,
it.
no.
The only comic you can huff.
No. That's not what it is. That's that ink, that quality ink smell.
Quality ink, quality ink
Exactly.
smell, quality ink smell.
Quality printing.
Do it
Quality
now.
ink. Get it now. Take care, everyone. See you soon.
That's
Ciao.
Don't mess with the bull, young man. You'll get the horns.
Do you draw the Flintstones naked?